This is the Dawn Diaries. Here I share my insides the same I would in an online diary. Now it's time for your dose of Dawn.
Okay, so my name is Dawn. My stage name is Christina. Some people know me as Christina Kisses because it starts with a K. So my spelling is Kristina. And I got into it because of money. To be more specific, I I was in school. No, actually, I started school simultaneously with seeing guys from websites that wanted escorts. I started off with an agency and then I worked independently and I was going to school at the same time. But before I started school, I was waitressing and I thought that was enough. I thought that was gonna like support me and get me some sort of independence, like living in like a one bedroom. But for some reason, there would always be an issue where I'd save $500 and then my car would break down, and then boom, the $500 would just be like
Yeah.
just for repairs. So like thinking, oh, I'm waitressing, I'm making $700 a week, that should be enough, and it was never enough. And so that's what made me go back to school. I didn't really want to go back to school, but then I slowly learned about escorting through just some random guy I met on Craigslist who told me about it. We were sort of friends. In hindsight, we probably really weren't friends, but he told me about it and he was saying how much you could make, and I never really thought about it after that. And then when money got so bad, that's when I decided to start. And it got really bad actually. I was living in a living room paying about maybe more than $500 a month. But like I said, like it was hard to save if you're only making a certain amount a week. So I ended up kind of like living in people's couches. I had a friend who went to a university, and I illegally lived in a dorm because I didn't go to that university. So I lived in that dorm, still waitressing, and then it just started to become too much, like where I just had enough. And so I would go to Starbucks and look up like agencies for all kinds of things, and so I finally stuck with one agency, and then from there the rest is history.
How
Yeah.
did you manage to live illegally in the dorm?
Oh, because the guy was like my best friend. He was like I think he was bisexual, but he definitely liked guys way more. And we just had a very trusting relationship. And he had a vacancy in one of the rooms in his dorm. There was like it was one of those dorms where there's like a kitchen area, there's like two bathrooms, and then there's like two bedrooms with two beds on each in each little room. And one of the beds, like the twin beds, was free. And so I lived there, but then for some reason no one really wanted me there. So I moved to somebody else's dorm and lived on their couch. But I was never there. So oh, but I would get a lot of tickets like in the parking lot because they knew my register or my license plate didn't match up with the students register, right? Like they register their car, and because I was not a student, I would constantly get tickets. So yeah. So it was rough. Yeah.
How did you yeah, I've been couch surfing. It is tough. It's different though.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You never told me. I know this is separate, but I you never told me if you sustain yourself as a cam model.
Yeah, partly because I'm a daddy's girl, because I'll be like, can you help me?
Gotcha. Okay, so but it does sustain you like without having another job?
It it does, yeah.
It does. Okay. That's what I wanted. I'll write that down when I start doing your editing.
Yeah, I used to feel guilty about manipulating the guys. I'm like, no, not anymore. But not manipulating, but I used to feel bad, but I realized that's a fetish of theirs that they like doing it. So
Manipulating, like, what do you mean by
I don't know.
manipulating?
I always felt like I was manipulating them to like take care of me, but I realized there's lots of guys who have a fetish with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to feel bad. I think that's because the people I dated made me feel bad about stuff like that. But
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, like I don't get it. Like I feel like manipulation is such a weird term because sometimes I think directness, how is that manipulation, you know? Like
that's what I realized. If they like it, it's not hurting anyone.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been accused of that myself, but like the way I've always looked at it is I don't have a plan. Like I don't it's not like I have this plan to you know how manipulation by definition just means like tricking someone into doing something you want. It's like, well, what if I don't know what I'm doing necessarily? You know, like
That's
I don't have a plan. I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah. So, yeah.
Did you prefer like an agency or on your own?
Oh, definitely on my own. Agencies are tough because when you're first brand new, you literally don't know anything and they know that and they take full advantage of you. They try to sleep with you. They do successfully sleep with you, especially if you're new because you think it's part of the audition, quote unquote audition process. And I remember a situation where that did happen and the guy was showing me how transactions are made. Like, oh, when you get this guy's cash or credit card, this is where you send it in this envelope to this. Because the agency was all like high end in a way. Like they didn't want to handle the cash. You would have to send it to this location that you don't even know where it is, some PO box basically. So any money you get, you have to give them whatever percentage you're supposed to give them, right? And so the guy slept with me during my quote unquote audition. Something about like he gave me money just to send, just so that he could confirm that he did it when I sent him the way you're supposed to send it in the future, right? And so I should have kept that because he slept with me, you know? Like I don't know what I was thinking. I just sent it over like an idiot. So I mean, I know that's a little confusing, but basically like I should have charged for that, basically is what I'm trying to say, you know?
Yeah, they take advantage of you.
They do. They do.
Is it like it's different from camming? Like, do you put boundaries up or how does that work?
um Now I do. Like I would never let that happen now. But I also don't work for agencies. But I feel bad for anyone who's new and thinks that they have to do something sexual in order to be a part of their agency or get hired. Like that's so not necessary, you know? There was another agency that I worked for where there's this guy who at the end of your first day at the agency, he would confront the girl by herself and see how much he can get out of the girl. Like he would say something like, "Well, you did okay on your first day. Uh, you kind of owe me a thank you now." Like he would put that out there to see if she'd be so gracious and like sleep with him, right? Some girls kind of knew the drill and be like, "Well, you still have to pay me, even though, yeah, I'm glad to work here. I'm happy you hired me, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, you still have to pay me." And then he would kind of like give a very low ball offer if you weren't going to give it up for free. Because he'd always throw it in your face, like, "Well, you work here, you get to work here, blah, blah, blah. I've hired you, this and that. You made a lot of money today. It's your first day." He would kind of throw that in your face. And so some girls, and the reason why I know this is not because obviously I'm not in the room when this happens because they're by themselves. So I'm not in the room when this is happening. But the reason why I know this is because some girls will go along with it for free, and then you'll see them later down like a week from now or 2 weeks from that time, they'll have like this breakdown like, "I don't want to sleep with them anymore." And they would not be saying that if they were getting paid, you know what I mean? They would just completely break down and say, "I can't do this anymore. I told them I don't want to." and he would have some sort of manipulation about like how he's owed because he gets to or invites you over to his agency, and it's kind of a mess, you know, if you don't know what you're doing. It can be very frightening.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I can't confirm that, and like there was a lot of secrecy. Like he was very good at what he was doing. Like he didn't let anybody else know that he was doing it to other people, but we sort of figured it out like on our own, you know. So yeah.
How does that industry work? Like, do you like set everything up beforehand, or?
Oh, you mean by yourself or with?
Yeah.
By yourself, you just have a website and they contact you through the website. Yeah.
And the more they want, the more they have to pay, or?
No, I actually have a set. Like I call it a gift because it's a gift. Some people call it a donation. Some people call it rates, whatever it is. I have my set amounts, and I have a 2-hour minimum, and I do a lot of screening. I used to not do as much screening, but I do a lot of screening now because I like to weed out the bad guys, you know, the ones that just kind of want like a one-time fling, not a fling, but you know, a one-time thing. They're not going to come back. They're not really serious. They don't really want to spend time with you. They just want to like a quick thing and never see you again. And like I'm not really in that mode anymore. Like maybe a long time ago I wouldn't mind seeing a bunch of people, but now like I have a 2-hour minimum, and I think that brings guys that are more like I guess gentlemanly, and like they want more out of the transaction, like companionship and something more intimate, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there goals that you have with it, or do you plan to ever leave it, or what are your goals? And like,
Yeah, I do
do?
have goals to kind of exit out of it. That's why I started my podcast, so that I can bring more awareness about how many women out there are in this similar lifestyle. And I just want to like turn my experience into some other way of monetizing, instead of using like my own time. Like I rather put out content out there, and then people, they like the content they can contribute, and it might just turn into something where I no longer have to meet anybody face to face. I mean, yeah, we'll see how that goes, because I know YouTube doesn't monetize if you talk about sex, which is a shame. But you still get views on YouTube, and you still get people who want to look at your podcast because they're interested and they want to learn about it. And they can always be charitable on Patreon. So yeah, it's possible to still like make some income off a podcast, you know.
I think, yeah, there's podcast channels like Spreaker. It's a weird name, and different ones, but that's what I think I plan to do, because I don't know about you, but a lot of girls, like, I feel bad for the young girls going in and not realizing what they're doing, that they don't have to do everything.
Yeah, a lot of people are so misinformed. I know when I first started, I thought that I literally had to do everything. Like I thought it was like super rated X porn star experience kind of thing. Like anything goes, like any hole. Like that's what I thought. Like, and thank God, like I learned that that's not the case. Like you can set your boundaries, and because that's what I guess that's like how society has been taught. Like where if someone's a quote unquote prostitute, then that means that like your body you're giving it up. But it's like no, that's not really true. Like you can give what you want because it's still your body, you know what I mean? So yeah.
What are like, what would advice be, you think, when people getting into the industry and how they should get out or like stay for long, or what do you think, like, people should stay in it or should they make their own choice? Or
It depends, like how is the work for you? Like, is it like is it unbearable? Of course you shouldn't do it if it's like so bad, you know. But if it's something that feels almost the same, like for me, a lot of it feels almost the same if I was just a civilian who was on Tinder and met guys, like the way a lot of people seem to be doing that these days, and they hook up, and it's very friends with benefits sort of situationships, as people say. Like, I don't see it that much different than doing what I'm doing, because I'm meeting people that I don't necessarily know that well, but there is an exchange that I'm comfortable with, you know, because I don't think I would enjoy hooking up the same way with someone I hardly know and not get some sort of financial benefit from it. I think that's how I compare the two. Like, someone else could have a completely different experience though. Like, they can say, no, I don't like this. I rather have like a regular job and have a serious boyfriend, and that's what feels normal and right for me. Whereas for me, I don't think, I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure. I think it'd be cool to have money coming in from a different, like a different way. I think I would like that actually, but I don't know that what that way is yet, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. It's, you have to enjoy to figure out what you want to do and not, I don't know, if you want to stay in it, you can, but I don't know, you have to realize that's going to be your image.
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty-
for porn, I mean, like, if you stay in the porn industry, you're going to be known for that. Not that, but that's why with cam, you have to be careful
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's going to be all over. Basically, and I was acting and trying to balance both, and I'm like, you know what? I can't.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like there's so many of us out there, and that's kind of why these podcasts are so important, because it gives voice to like so many things that are hidden from our society. And it's nice to blend the two, because I'm just like anybody else, and yeah, it might change my image because of stigma, but it doesn't really change who I am, you know? Like, there's an image of who I am, and then there's who I am. And that image is only negative because of stigma, not because of who I am, you know?
Yeah, I didn't look at it that way. Now I do. What are your what are your turn-ons and turn-offs?
Like, you mean sexually?
Yes.
I don't like bad hygiene. Not a thing that I like. I don't like cigarettes. I don't like bad manners.
Like chewing with your mouth open.
No, not that kind of bad manners, more like crassness. If I get texts and it's from like a like very crass attitude, they say whatever they want to say to me, kind of a degrading tone,
Yeah.
definitely a big turn off. Yeah, like expectations up front. What do I get kind of conversations? What do I get if this is what you request? I'm not really big on talking about the intimate details of what is in, like, what's supposed to be kind of a special, like, encounter between two people. I don't really like to get into like the dirty, explicit details like some people expect. And when someone comes off the gate like expecting it to be written down, like, that's a turn off. Like, it doesn't make me feel like inspired or excited or none of that. Like, I'm not like I don't know. I think there's a difference between like a sex phone operator, and I am not that girl. Like, I am not going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and then we're going to do this.
No, I can't do that.
I'm not into that. My turn-ons would probably just be the opposite of what I said. Like someone who clearly like wants to like please me, make me happy, like shows up like clean and well groomed, and someone who doesn't kind of like harass me before we even meet. Like those are a good start. Those are like the turn-ons, like when someone you can tell is going out of their way to make me feel comfortable. Like I like that. Like that makes me think, okay, this person's a good person, or this person is going to be someone that I vibe with.
No, yeah, I can see that. Making sure they tell you I don't like it when everyone goes too descriptive too. Like I've had Skypes where like, take off your clothes. I'm like, it's just like, it doesn't feel it just feels like they just treat you like meat, essentially. It's not like they care.
Yeah, it's very degrading. Like I like to be treated like a person who's just like anybody else. Like I feel like because of the stigma, you get treated like I wonder if those guys would talk to all women that way.
That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder that too. Or like if maybe they want to. I wonder if they want to talk to women that way and don't, but in this way, in this area of life, they're like, well, I think I have the green light on that. And I think they forget that actually we're just like any women that outside of this, and we don't like to be spoken this way the way any other woman would, like, yeah.
Sorry, we had a guy who's supposed to Skype with me this weekend, never got back, and goes, I just watched your videos for free. I'm like,
What?
Yeah, that's with the cam girl. You have to be like, okay, goodbye, but you can't be mean to them. I'm like,
oh no.
Yeah, I'm like, is that okay? I'm like, no, it's not okay. But I'm like, so anyway, worst can't like a experience or best experience you had, whichever you're comfortable with.
Oh, worst or best? Okay, I'll go with my best, but it's not that great when I say it out loud, but for some reason the memory seems like a good memory to me. The reason why it wasn't that great, it's kind of a good question that you asked me, whether it's worse or the best, because it is a little bit of both. Like it's a good experience, but like when you think about it, there's a lot of elements of like not so good. Like the guy had clearly done a lot of drugs. I think he was doing coke, and it was just LA, because I lived in LA for a really long time. I'm from LA. I was born in LA. But I was at this hotel in the middle of the day, and it was like this is why I liked it, because it was a long session, and I always like long sessions because obviously you make more and you're not moving around from like person to person. Not that I really did that. I like to make I don't like to have too many appointments or anything like that, because I like, what is it? Quality over quantity. But anyways,
Yeah.
So I was there all day. I want to say I was there from like maybe 11 in the morning, maybe 11 in the morning to like maybe 4 p.m, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, something like that. Like 11 to 4 or something like that. So it was a long time, and he took care of me up front, which was cool. He was somebody who was well known. I won't say famous. He wasn't famous, but he was well known, successful guy. Just like having a good time. Like I'm not sure if he was always doing drugs. Like I don't know that much about him to know if he was always a partier, but it was definitely one of those occasions like where you could tell he was like letting loose. So he was doing that. And then he would drink from the liquor cabinet, like every assortment of beer that was there. And I don't know, I guess it's okay to mix beers, because I heard you can't really mix alcohol without getting too messed up. But he drank like everything there, and he was doing drugs at the same time. So that part was a little weird, but because he was such a respected person, like in the industry that he was in the music industry, and like you could tell he was just like really successful also like money wise. Like he had like these really nice shoes on, and he had like this beautiful hotel room and all this stuff, right? And he was doing the drugs, and I really thought that we weren't gonna be able to do much physically, but that wasn't the case. And he was super happy about the fact that he could enjoy himself, and I was happy too because I didn't know if it was gonna happen, but he was super impressed, maybe not impressed, but like just like satisfied that it could happen. And then after that, he was just really nice to me. Like we didn't really do anything after the first time, and then we just sort of hung out, and like he was just super nice to me and like really took care of me, and it was just a good memory. And like I thought I was going to see him again. He's like, "Oh, keep in touch, don't be a stranger." That's what he said to me as I was leaving. But I think I lost my phone not too long after that and never heard from him again.
That's not.
Yeah, I lost my phone like in Santa Monica, one of the roller coasters. I was like taking a photo or something or recording, and then the fucking phone fell like from my hand because of some little jolt in the roller coaster. So I never had his contact information, but he also probably never contacted me either. So maybe it wouldn't have been a thing anyways, but it was a good experience, I thought. You know, so it's a good day's work with somebody who's okay. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
What's something that's hard because you didn't know what was going to happen, but it turned out okay.
Yeah, but that's always the case. You never know what's gonna happen, you know? You never know. You know.
What's something you would never do?
A lot of things. A lot of things. Like I wouldn't do anything like like porn starish, like meaning like stuff that you see in porn that seems a little on the abusive side. I wouldn't do anything like that. Nothing super rough, nothing, you know, like yeah, I'm not really into that kind of intimacy. It feels very like forced for me. Like I'm more of like the romantic, chill friend vibe more than like the raunchy, like, you know, yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you. That's how I was. Like I would prefer the girlfriend experience, which I don't know why I've never offered them that. And I'll be at events and there's one small model, she was small like me, and she was at the event too, and I've been at other events with guys saying this, and she just finally said it the best way that everyone would be like, what, because I'm small, they're like, when are you gonna put a big dildo in your butt or your pussy? When are you gonna put it in? She finally goes, if we put it in, it's not gonna be small anymore. I'm like, thank you. She finally just bluntly said it and they walked away. I was like, thank you. Well done.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
That stuff creeps me out, to be honest. Like it just creeps me out. Like the fact that people want sex that intensely. Like I think porn kind of ruins sex for women, you know, because it's just so not our style, you know. I mean, from women I've spoken to, there's obviously women out there that are into it, but it's not me.
No, not too much. And I'm small. I'd be scared. I actually got a toy stuck in me on cam. It was horrible. So I don't want to put anything big in me.
It got stuck? Like that's crazy. Like
yeah.
I don't think I've ever had that happen to me. Like where something got stuck. I mean, I've gotten like tampons stuck.
Oh, that's not fun.
I guess condoms too, but I don't know. They're easy to come off. They're not stuck permanently or anything like that. I've had a situation where I forgot a tampon was inside me, and then it really got stuck.
Oh,
and it was super painful. Like I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people because I've talked to people about that, and it's actually very, very painful. Yeah. and really bad for you. So
Yeah, it's
well,
toxic.
thank God I don't use tampons anymore because chemicals and everything. We talked about that. Like,
Yeah, I don't really use them except if I need to occasionally during a show, but
yeah. Yeah.
what is something funny that happened when you were working?
Oh, okay. So one time there was a guy. It's not funny in hindsight, but it was funny. It wasn't even funny then, but there was some element of funny. Like there was a guy who was like really young, really young. I don't know how young, like early 20s or something, but he also had like a young like attitude about him. And there was a lot of like questions that I had to ask to make sure he like, just like regular questions like, are you like law enforcement or whatever it is, right? And he just like he had like a stoner laugh and he was like, no, ha ha ha. He like laughs like it's like some joke. And like I guess it is funny, like because he's just a little kid to me. Even if we were the same age, he still had that little kid thing about him. Like, oh my god, this kid is like just like sort of like experimenting to see me, whatever. But the thing that made me so mad, not super mad or anything, but it made me mad that he showed up with all ones. And I should have, like in hindsight, because I talked to people about this and they're like, why didn't you just have him go back to the bank and get rid of the ones and have them come back and pay you the right way? But it drove me crazy. But like, it is a little funny when you think about it that he showed up with all ones and I just like counted like for a long time. So somehow I just accepted it. But I remember when I had to deposit it, it was so annoying. But I mean, I guess that's what strippers have to do. Like they must have to deposit lots of ones. Like,
Yeah,
who knows? I know when I was waitressing, I had to deposit a lot of singles and stuff. Or more, maybe it was when I was bussing, because I think bussers have the most ones, because the waitresses usually give the bussers like the small amounts. So I remember having a lot of ones back in the day, but like this was crazy. So I would never do it again. But it was funny a little bit when you think about it. You're like, okay, like he's just some punk kid. With the ones and like a stoner laugh and like he was smoking weed all day, like like, oh, let me go see this girl,
he
whatever.
wasn't thinking about anything.
Yeah, like he and I just we're not the same person, obviously. Like I just felt like he had no business like being with me or anything like that, but whatever. Yeah.
Do you have any like behind the scenes things that happened, or
Like what's behind the scenes though?
I guess with like Cam, like when we're making videos and stuff, funny things that have happened. But I don't know.
Oh, well, I have done cam before, but not very long. For whatever reason, I just didn't like the idea of like being tied to the chair for so long. Like I remember looking through other girls' cams and they would be like eating sometimes or they'd be so bored. They look bored. They would look really bored. Or I don't know if have you ever seen that? Like but I would watch the other girls to kind of get some ideas of what they were doing and I'd kind of visit and then I would exit and I don't know, I got really tired of that. But like, yeah, behind the scenes is like when you try to go fix to see how do I look okay, or I mean, there was a lot of that, like stretching, like because you're on a chair all day, or not. You're not even on a chair if you're the one dancing. But I never really danced unless they requested it. So, but in terms of the other side of sex work, behind the scenes, Like, you mean in preparation before I saw them or something like that?
Yeah, or if you saw them, just like, I don't even know if that would pertain. Like, what were things that happened that were funny? I've had stuff like filming because I'm a klutz, or just anything that people wouldn't know about, or
Oh, well, let's hear yours so I get like some sort of idea of what you mean.
I've had like, I don't know, like I'm horribly klutzy, so they had me on this teddy bear and I was supposed to hump the teddy bear and the model's like, "Why aren't you humping it?" I'm like, "I'm stuck." Like she's like, "Oh." I'm like, "No, I can't even get off the bed." Like she's like, I can't move. Can you reposition?" I'm like, "No, when it flips." So she had to like get off the bear because she's on one side of it and pick me up and move me. And then I've fallen off. I ruined a scene because I forgot. I've just done so much stuff. I'm like a klutz.
That is funny. I like that. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun to work with somebody. Um, well, in the agency like that I worked at, there was some funny moments because everybody has such a different personality that like the girls can be hilarious, but the thing is the guy that ran the agency didn't want us to be friends with each other. Like he would make sure we didn't get each other's numbers. It was part of the rules of working there, but one time this girl who was like somebody that I would definitely be friends with if I had the chance to be friends with her, but she brought in a goldfish like that she just randomly bought like at some store on the way to work. Like she's like, let me just buy this fish, and she left it there like she forgot to take it home with her. And he's like, what am I gonna do with this fish? You know, he's like pissed about the fish, you know. And like everybody's cracking up about the fact that this big old guy, tough guy, you could call him a pimp if you want, whatever, but the guy that ran the place, this tough guy is like stuck with a little fish, and everyone's like just cracking up about that. And he just sort of stops and pauses, and he's like, well, I will say, you know, I've only met characters, you know, from this industry or whatever he said. And I was like, you're one of them, like thinking he's a character too, you know? Like there's just a lot of characters, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was our pet fish for a while. He actually kept the fish. You know, I'm not sure how much he had to take care of it, but like it was just some random fish that just showed up while we're, you know, I mean, I guess you could call it a brothel, but yeah, we had a little pet fish in the brothel.
For years or just a few months or
You know, they die so fast. Like I don't know if it lasted more than a couple months. At best a couple months. Either that or she took it home. And I didn't see her take it home, but like I know for a while it was there and then it wasn't there. So I'm not sure about that one. But it was funny like in the beginning when we ended up having a pet fish. So yeah.
yeah, that would yeah, things like that happen that you just randomly get a fish and to see the different people and because people think everyone's the same in front of the camera and they don't know what goes on behind everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I might start doing the camming again. I don't know. I don't know why I gave up so easily, but I might do it again. It's an easier way in a way because you're only by yourself. You don't really have to interact like
Yeah.
face to face in person. So that's kind of nice, you know. And I had been thinking about what you said about like meeting those guys for the first time and like how there was a connection. Like that's kind of special to have, you know, someone that you sort of know cares about you in their own little way. Like that can't be too bad. I mean, I guess you can call those guys fans. I mean, is that what you guys call them? Fans or just
Yeah,
clients or
I think you get closer to some of the fans more than the other fans.
And
Um,
how is that? How is it that you get close to some and not because they initiate that, right?
I think it just naturally happens. Like, plus the ones who are spending more tokens on you, you're gonna get more attention to. But and
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
then you gravitate towards certain ones, and it just naturally happens. It's just odd, like how you'll get close to one fan and not close to another fan, and some fans you're like, oh my god, I don't want to see you, but um yeah, it's just different, but it's enjoyable. But I think like right now with me, what I'm doing is I was asked to model non-cam and cam. That's why I wanted to do more fan centro and OnlyFans, because I was trying even before the pandemic to split it. I know I was not successful. I'd fall asleep on cam when I was trying to do both, but I realized I'm like, I think I'd rather do that than run around and do more social media, because I think there's so many options right now to like do cam and then grow your audience through there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too, that people who do cam like grew their OnlyFans from cam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. So when you leave the meeting, it's gonna start loading the video automatically. The file might be too large to send an email, but try it first, and if it doesn't work out, just let me know and we can figure something else how to do it. We could create a Google Drive if we have to, and you could just drop it in there. Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I think for people to see like the other side of it, they don't realize everything that goes on.
No, and there's so many girls out there that do this. Obviously, because every time I log into like cam girl stuff, there's a bunch of girls. OnlyFans, there's a bunch of girls. There's like more girls than you realize that are just like
Yeah,
people that you probably know even and just don't tell you. Because otherwise the numbers wouldn't make sense. Like, why are there so many girls? Like, where are they from? Where are they coming from? Where do they live? So, like the fact that we're both in New York, that says something, you know? So,
yeah, we didn't even know it till later on that
yeah.
they're,
Like, I mean, I'm sure there's other girls we'll meet the way we met that are from New York too? Like, that should give you an idea of just how many of us there are? you know?
because we're all in our houses right now.
Yeah, but not only that, it's like it's a big nation, like the U.S. and just the U.S. alone, and there's like girls from New York, like already, like because I know I've met girls from New York the same way too, you know,
Yeah,
girls that you would see down the street walking, you would never think, oh, they might be. If I never did anything like this, I wouldn't go there. Like that's not where my head would go first. But now that I do know, I'm like, oh, she just looks like any girl I see, any other day. So yeah,
yeah, and I like the OnlyFans that aspect of it, so you can post photos and have more of a life because the downside of cam is some of the guys right now, like they're like, "Are you there? We're bored during quarantine." I'm like, "Oh my god,"
uh,
because yeah. So you have more of like, to an extent, I'm assuming like I don't know, maybe because I did cam so long, I wanted to change up. Like I enjoy it, but
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I don't really know that much about the success in OnlyFans. I know people do really well in it, but like I know there's a lot of work involved. Like you have to constantly make content every day,
yeah,
and you have to inspire people to buy the either the subscription or the pay-per-view because you can't give it all away too soon. Like if someone's seen all of you, they're gonna like move on to the next girl. So you have to keep a lot of intrigue and interest, and there's a lot to it actually. But yeah. So all right. So I think we're good. So I guess I'll leave, and then when you hit leave, just remember it'll start loading. You'll know because it does it automatically, so you'll know. Yeah. So I'll see you. I'll probably see you Monday, and probably speak to you throughout the week. Let you know how my editing is going.
All right, yeah, and I'll probably reach out because I'm debating on whether doing in-person sugar baby, but part of me as a cam girl, I'm like, no, I couldn't ever like.
Oh, yeah, we can talk on the phone for like exchanging like, this is what I've done, this is what you've done, and get some kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I can share everything I know, for if you have questions and stuff like that. I'm shy too, by the way. I'm very introverted, and I feel the same way a lot of the time, where I feel shy and all that. So, but you work with people and you get to know them, and then it feels normal. It feels like, okay, they're just a friend, at least to me, because not everybody wants to do the whole thing, like the full service or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring. I'm like, do I just want to do it virtually, or
yeah. I mean, yeah, whatever you want to know, I'll tell you. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Misty.
All right.
Okay, bye.
This is the end of the episode, and I'm glad you made it all the way here. Any website that I mentioned will be linked down below. Also, I have a Patreon page, which I will include episodes earlier. We're talking a few days to a day early. And if you want to sign up for membership, it'll just be a cool way to get ahead of the episodes that I'll be sharing with everyone. It'd be nice for members to join for, their own contribution and their continued support, meanwhile getting the earliest possible content. Reminder again to subscribe and to ring the bell for notifications. Thank you very much.